Hi, thanks for 20,000 subscribers. I am currently working on the Blue video, and that is so wild and so scandalous, so debaucherous, in the vein of Fellini's Satyricon or Damien Chazelle's upcoming Babylon, apparently, that well, it's not really in the style of that, I guess. The title is Perfect Blue, but spelled Bloo, so that might give you more of an idea. De Palma wishes he could have pulled off what. Anyway, I'm already on a tangent. Good lord. Yeah, so that video requires a lot of care and effort, and thus requires more time investment than my preferred usual method of working on YouTube videos. So, in the meantime, I needed something to upload, and as thanks for 20,000, I figured it would be interesting for you, the kind viewer, to gain some sort of insight into me. So, to complete this picture of monstrous indulgence, then the first question was asking what my favorite or most proud win in my competitive career was. And I am fortunate enough to have a lot of such games to choose from. And then I remembered, hey, there's some people who actually like when something happens on the screen in my videos. I wonder why that is. For those who just listen to me, you're not missing out on anything. But for those who do like something happening on the screen, then I compiled a bunch of games that I am happy with from over the years, and they will play out on screen. Not all of them, because a lot, don't exist in replay form, unfortunately. But yeah, they're all in the pinned comment, the links. And if you have any questions about any of them, then feel free to ask, and I'll happily answer. So, the first question is indeed, what win in your Pokemon career are you most proud of, be it a single game, a tournament set, or a team thing, or an entire tournament. Oh, I misread the question. I read a team tournament thing in there, but my answer either way is going to be winning the 2013 World Cup with US East, which was the first official tournament I ever won, and I loved doing it with those guys because we were, really like brothers, and we had come really close in 2012, and we had talking about scandalous, someone on US West impersonated one of us to steal our teams, and then they counter-teamed us ruthlessly. So, yeah, that did not feel like a good way to end the tournament. Yeah, actually, one of my most proud games was in that 2012 World Cup, but it does not exist in replay form. This is why I was trying to get work done on that log to replay converter, but that fizzled out like a million times. So, yeah. Anyway, so 2013 World Cup, we came back and we won the whole thing, and it was great. And I especially enjoyed being able to win the decisive game. That's actually the next battle that we'll be playing on the screen. And that one does exist in replay format. But it was in Gen 5 OU, so don't be surprised for those who are watching when it looks like the 3D models as opposed to sprites. Because it was just OU on Showdown at the time, and then it got converted to looking like that, even though it was Gen 5. Point being, oh, I just remembered another one that it could have been. Doesn't matter. Point being, yeah, 2013 World Cup was a good one to win. And I especially liked it because there was an individual on the other team who really liked ripping into me as I was coming up. So to be able to dominate them was a good feeling. So 2013 World Cup of Pokemon with Team US East. Pat Boy asks, what are your top 3 Pokemon and the 3 Pokemon you despise the most? I don't despise any Pokemon. I don't feel that strongly about them. My favorite is Salamence because when I was 8 years old, then I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And after that, then I would say Teddy Ursa. And if I had to pick a third, then let's go with Espeon or Misdreavus. Yeah, so that's that one. Number 3, favorite character in Smash Brothers Melee. I don't really have one because I never played the games that that a lot of those characters come from. So I really just went with Pikachu every time because, how can you not love Pikachu? So, yeah. Which generation of OU is the easiest to get into? I would say probably Gen 3 or 5, just because they have a lot of good resources, and yeah, and the structures they have are very defined, so you get a feel for the team styles that are used very quickly. Favorite Gen 4 OU and Polion set? Honestly, I love all of them. I think they're all really cool, but more people should use Choice Specs. That one's really underrated. That one's always useful. Next up, what is your favorite thumbnail you made so far, / do you care about them? I wouldn't care about thumbnails if I didn't know that they help draw viewers in. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So I care about them in that sense. They are cool to make, but I don't really have any that I remember. I did like the one for CBB versus X-Ray and SPL Finals, though. That one was fun because I just put random stuff in there. Well, it wasn't really random, but it would seem that way because it was like Miles Teller in Too Old to Die Young, juxtaposed against the Ancient Mew card. So, yeah, that was awesome. Anyway, so that brings us to our next question of favorite lower tier. DPP Ubers, duh. And if you mean lower as in lower than OU, then it is very clearly DPP UU. Champ and Fernape. If you got 3 newer gen Pokemon to an older generation, which would they be? I would add Talonflame to Advance, because I'm curious as to what that would look like as an alternative to Charizard and Moltres. I would add Rhyperior to Advance in GSC, because I think it would be a great upgrade over Rhydon without being anywhere near overbearing. I'd especially like it in Gen 2, because in Gen 2, then Rhydon has really become overshadowed by Golem and Tyranitar, and I would like to see it, or at least its evolution, some more. And finally, I would add... I don't even know. This is a tough question. Let's say... yeah, I would add Eviltal to Gen 5 Ubers. I think it would do some really cool things there. Alright, next up. Which Pokemon do you despise most? A Pokemon that consistently gets overrated by the mindless majority that so clearly isn't as good as stated, or a Pokemon that for whatever reason you just can't get to work? I don't really despise the Pokemon themselves, but I do dislike the former phenomenon where someone will say something and then a lot of people will just agree just because it's a notable player. It's not the notable player's fault at all. For example, I'll go with for over the course of a couple of years, then Fortress fluctuated in widely perceived viability among the larger advanced player base. And the reason it fluctuated was because the linear curve publicly stated his opinions on it, and whatever he said wound up being the viability of Fortress at the time. Like, when he liked it, then everyone else liked it and said Skarmory's bad. And then linear said, Fortress is bad and nobody should use it and everybody should ignore it. And then everyone did. And then he said, "Oh, Fortress is good again," and then everyone else agreed. And I always thought that was really strange because nothing was really changing in the metagame that would make Fortress better or worse. I always kind of saw it. It was mostly Linear's preferences over time, and then the community basically followed what he said, and I really didn't care for that. Yeah, it was. I always thought Fortress was bad, but I understood why people liked it. But for it to fluctuate like that based on whatever he was saying, so yeah, I would say I disliked that more. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say I despise it, but yeah. What do you think about Sub-Whirlwind Lugia in pre-Gen 8 tiers? Good. It's great in Gen 4. Ruins a lot of offense, and it's been used in Gen 5 to great success too. What is your opinion on other metagames? That question was also non-Ice Beam / Psychic Lugia. I mean, I guess it can work if Toxic's your only move, but it feels like you're going to needlessly make your life a lot harder than it needs to be. So against things like Garchomp and Groudon, and you have to be able to hit stuff. Mostly Ice Beam, not Psychic, because there's no Mega Gengar you have to hit. What is your opinion on other metagames? No opinion. Never had any interest. Never touched any. Opinion on Moltres in GSC. Do you think... Oh, this is a separate question. Okay. I think Moltres is great in GSC. I think it's really, really cool. Very underrated. Very hard to deal with for a lot of teams. Should be used more. Do you think Blissey is still an OU Pokemon despite being lower on the viability ranks than Smeargle, Espeon, and Jolteon? Yes, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Nothing else does what Blissey does. What mechanical differences would you like to see in Gen 9, be it typing? I don't have anything I want to see in Gen 9. I do not care. Splurge. Which players are the collective most significant influences on your playstyle and how you have chosen to approach competitive play? I would say Goki, because I really respected how he saw the game in terms of what he said impressed him about a player was not getting nice matchups and then riding them to easy wins. Because there's so much, if you can team build and get yourself a good matchup, that's great. But there's a lot of guesswork going on there. And he said what impressed him most was running into a bad matchup and being able to play out of it. And consistency over a longer period of time, as opposed to just one game. Because you can have someone play the greatest game anyone's ever seen, and then, the rest of their career they don't do anything. So, consistency over a longer period of time. And the thing that really resonated with me the most is how he said building your own teams. Because a lot of skill in Pokemon is team building. It's a reflection of understanding the game. And if you just use someone else's team, then it's kind of a moot point, I believe is how he phrased it. And a lot of the things like older players have said, I've thought about more, and sometimes I'm like, yes, I get it. Like a lot of them, these new players and their ban-happy generations, like that, I understand where they're coming from, but don't agree. But something like this, then I do definitely believe in. And if you want an example, then ask anyone who's serious about tournament play nowadays and for the last several years, and you ask them, is prep important? And they would say, yes, of course. Of course it's important. Why wouldn't it be? And then you say, okay, so why is it okay for someone else to do your prep for you, to give you teams? And do a huge... Because prep is important because team matchup is undeniably an enormous part of the game. And when someone else... And it's your choice on how you go into that battle with the team. And when someone else does it for you, you can use those tools, then, and that's very impressive and all. But when you have that underrated Pokemon that blows out the opponent because your friend told you should use it, and then gave you... And if it's one thing, your friend said, hey, use Crawdon, it's good, and you make a team with it. But it's another thing entirely when your friend just hands you a team and... I don't know, it's a complex subject, and yeah. So I feel strongly about that. And, when someone else says, oh, well, it doesn't matter, in-game play is the only thing that matters, it's like, well, that's clearly not the case. And, yeah, so, yes, that's, Goki had the strongest influence. Ace Matador, also, Undisputed was my tutor, and then Ace Matador was my unofficial tutor, because we became friends when we were on the same SPL team together in SPL 3. And yeah, he was another big influence. Heist, of course, because we were friends for a long time. But yeah, no one impart, and or actually, I would say Earthworm always, because Earthworm always saw things no one else did. I would say Earthworm maybe because Goki had the philosophy, but the way Earthworm saw, and actually Earthworm is a great example of a lot of what Goki talked about. And not just, making straightforward moves and flashy predictions, but Earthworm saw things no one else did. And my favorite example, in a World Cup game in 2010, then Earthworm had this Skarmory out, and on the first turn, for seemingly no reason, just clicked Brave Bird. Not spikes, not whirlwind, not double switching, he just clicked Brave Bird, which is weird. And the opponent switched in Breloom, and down it went. It was just mind-boggling. And then you think, well, how could he possibly make such a move? He's like, and then you think about it, it's like, well, actually, leading off with Brave Bird, okay, yeah, it might not do something, but it also has huge benefits. I mean, it's not just Breloom. It's also something like Infernape. That's another really common Skarmory switch. It's like, oh yeah, the Skarmory's going to get spikes, I'm going to send in Infernape, going to start messing their team up. And you start thinking about it, and that had like a big influence on me. Just a couple years later, when I was using Skarmory and I was trying to switch up my play in high-level tournament games, and I remember in a Smogon Tour playoff game against Blue, then I had that leading off with the Brave Bird thing in mind. I don't think I did it right away, but this was when Starmie was really becoming just like the automatic switch to anything that had any entry hazards. Slight exaggeration, but like if they had a Starmie, they were going to go to it on Skarm, not Heatran, for example. So if you just spike with Skarmory, then you will, be on the back foot as Starmie threatens to remove it right away, and you get into all these dumb, oh, is it going to Hydro, is it going to spin, what kind of games. But if you Brave Bird and lead off with it, if you lead off with Brave Bird, then you smack Starmie really hard, and you're going to force a recover, and that makes it more easy to play around, to get in your Rotom safely without taking a Hydro, or your T-Tar, or what have you. Your Roserade, for example, on the team I was using. So yeah, that was looking for unorthodox moves that have a purpose. You're not just clicking at random. So yeah, Earthworm for sure. Goki and Earthworm. A typically Generation 4 answer. It's like growing up in the 60s and being like, yeah, I'm in a band. We're really influenced by the Beatles. Yeah, but I mean that's for a reason. So. Yes, thank you for that question. In any generation, what Pokemon do you believe is criminally underused despite being secretly or not so secretly good? This is not something that's been on my mind recently, so I'd have to think, but I'm not sure. That's a good question. Should be able to answer it more definitively. I'll go with. Alright, it's because I'm looking at Gengar on the screen right now, but yeah, Gengar in generations 4 and 5 and 6 actually. Yeah, maybe not 4 as much, but especially Gen 6, we should see more Gengar. So, yeah, that's my answer. What's your favorite Pokemon side game? Other than ones that feature battling. So no Stadium, Coliseum, XD, or Battle Revolution. I like Mystery Dungeon the most, for sure. Mystery Dungeon 2. That one's the best. I mean, that features battling, but what doesn't? Like Pokemon Ranger? Like, I like Pokemon Ranger too. I like Pokemon Pinball, but Mystery Dungeon. I assume that's how you meant it. Are you going to finish the DPP Uber's Invitational Tournament vids? Yeah, at some point. Yeah. Dylan, on a nice Sunday evening after a long week, what is your go-to movie? That's a great question. It depends. Satan Tango, obviously. For those who don't know, Satan Tango is a 7-hour Hungarian film about being depressed in Hungary. That's not actually... I mean, yeah, it is. It's about the effect... what it was like to live in Hungary after communism fell. But... yeah, it's bleak. But so, no, that would not be my go-to, obviously. I don't know. Something... There's a lot of fun choices. I don't know. I guess in a situation like that, I would probably put on something that I'd been wanting to watch for a while. Because I get the feeling that if you only just rewatch movies you already like, you'll have a much tougher time wanting to watch something new. And I think if you want to learn more about movies, you should be constantly watching something new because there's so much out there. But I know what you mean. Comfort movies for, when you just want to watch something familiar. And the answer to that is Hot Fuzz. I love Hot Fuzz. It's the greatest. Shaun of the Dead too, obviously. The World's End is also really, really great. But I wouldn't watch it for fun because it's emotionally really heavy. So, Goodfellas is also another very comforting choice. Yeah. There are a bunch of others, but I'll stop there. I'll be here all night. Oh, Mary Poppins sometimes. I love Mary Poppins. Yeah. The Incredibles, These are movies that you appreciate more as an adult than as a kid. And of course, who could not get warm and fuzzy after watching an Ingmar Bergman movie about the silence of God? Was this stupid thing freezing again? Sometimes if I open Discord and this thing starts... Alright, I'm going to reset this battle for those who are watching. Sorry. But I forgot that I can't actually open the Discord window or it might freeze the thing that's being recorded in the browser. I just have to hover over it. Yeah. What's your opinion on the latest Pokemon games? I don't have any. I really don't. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's the last thing that's been on my mind. Everything you think should be banned or unbanned. I think Hoopa Unbound should be unbanned in ORAS. Don't think anything should be banned. Besides Scald and everything. So yeah, Scald and everything. What do you enjoy about Smogon so much? I don't enjoy Smogon. For many reasons. Have you ever played VGC? Yes, a couple times. I don't like the metagame, but playing VGC at an actual VGC event, because I went to Worlds for a couple of years, that was really fun. And I do like how VGC has Team Lock. I think that's really good. What are your thoughts on pets? Planning on getting one if you don't have one already? When I was 6, I wanted a dog named Charizard, but I never got one, and I don't plan on getting a pet. Pinorska, do you ever plan to return to tournament play? I feel like you went outside for a year and people are forgetting that you are an exceptionally skilled player. Thank you. Thank you for saying it so I didn't have to. But yeah, that's very kind. I hope not, honestly. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to... I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, oh, I'm never playing again, and then you see them playing at something 2 months later, if not earlier. But yeah, it's been a long time since I've played anything, and I don't have the desire to touch anything, really. So, I don't know. Just the thought of it makes me tired. But maybe. There's one or two things I could see myself playing and not really taking seriously. That's my problem. I have a problem with the idea of just playing and taking it for fun, I get too invested, too emotionally into it. So there's one or two things, yeah, maybe just to mess around, but not like seriously, not like hardcore anymore. How was your year? What did you learn as a person? Well, good journalism asks the tough questions, so I learned a lot. I don't know how personal I want to get, but I was reminded of how much I love to read. So that's one thing. Books, not nothing scholarly or academic. When I was younger, then I loved to read, and then I discovered the internet. I'm sure this is the case for a lot of people, and then that killed my desire to read. So I was on the internet so much. And then when you're in college, then reading academic papers nonstop makes you not want to read for fun. So, but yeah, with now I've been reading like actual books again, and I've been rediscovering that. Reading J.G. Ballard really reinvigorated the spark in me. So yeah, I really like him. Are you Sludge Wave or Sludge Bomb gang? Well, I grew up pre-Sludge Wave, so. Afuyis, I don't know how to say her name. Who is a Pokemon player you would love to meet the most? Out of morbid curiosity, well, not even morbid curiosity, just curiosity, Blue. As a person, I liked Goki a lot. I thought he was really cool. There are a lot, obviously. I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of people from the Pokemon sphere. Heist, maybe. That'd be interesting, I'm sure. Yeah, there's a lot. But yeah, I have been lucky enough to meet a lot of my Pokemon pals. K302, what is your favorite old and new Gen OU? I don't know what new Gen means. I'll just separate it into Team Preview versus non-Team Preview. Old Gen 4, new Gen 6. Also, when is the Blue movie done? I don't know. I really don't. So, hang in there. It'll be worth it. What are your favorite newly introduced Pokemon for each generation? I don't know. For each gen? That's a lot of gens. Okay. Charizard, Mischievous, Groudon, Floatzel, Caracosta or Sigilif. Aegislash is a cool design. Cortana. I don't know the Gen 8 Pokemon. Those are probably not my favorites, but, Floatzel, maybe. I do like Floatzel. What's your favorite Pokemon to use in any format? There's something comforting and competitively right, I feel, about the eternal reliability of Dialga and Gen 4 Ubers. Would you prefer to have Dynamax and Gigantamax fixed in the new games, or Megas and Z-Moves return? I think Megas and Z-Moves can have a good balance. Yeah. Champion Lance, thoughts on this quote? An amateur Pokemon trainer is concerned with the identity, skill level, and reputation of his current opponent. An experienced Pokemon trainer is concerned with team matchup and RNG in his current battle. A Pokemon master is concerned with long-term consistency against everyone over a large number of battles. I don't know about the other two, but I do agree that long-term consistency over a large number of battles is it. As established with when I was talking about the Goki. So, Redless, have you watched the film Everything Everywhere All at Once? If so, what did you think of it? I loved it. I mean, come on. Of course, it was amazing. If there is a better film to come out this year, I will be immensely pleased. I mean, there are a bunch of really, really great ones. I saw Decision to Leave, the new Park Chan-wook movie, recently, and that one was really, really excellent. There are several others I'm looking forward to seeing. But yeah, Everything Everywhere, I mean, come on. A triumph. Opinion on Squid Game. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Will you do a video reviewing all the new Gen 9 Pokemon like you did at the beginning of Sword and Shield? You know it. I am not above exploiting the new generation for views. King of Magikarps, I wonder if you would do more collaborations. I would love to see you and Joey make another video. I'm sure we will. Joey and I are pals. But yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Would it hurt or help the franchise / Smogon if Gamefreak made the Smogon tiers the official singles Wi-Fi format? I have no idea. There are a lot of factors to consider there. Yeah, that would be interesting. How many subscribers will you realistically ever get? How am I supposed to know that? I have no idea. What is your favorite DPP Ubers team? Jabaku's Vulcan Fury and August's Henry. Those two really helped me get into the tier when I was first starting out. Love those a lot. I think August had a team that was the basis for Vulcan Fury, in fact. I'd have to check with him on that. But yeah, I love those. What's the easiest non-OU tier to get into? A current Gen 1. The others, you'll have too difficult a time finding games because they're not on ladders. What's your opinion on Showdown Salt YouTubers? Do you see yourself making a compilation or joke video about it? Probably not. It doesn't really seem like my thing. How do you feel about freeze claws? Should exist if you care about being competitive. What's the lore? I don't really care about a slippery slope or anything like that. What's the lore behind you having a Viper make a Pokemon-themed music video? I found the channel after this. Would be interesting to hear about how that came about. Viper did not make that. Someone else made it and sent it to Viper. It was pretty awesome, though. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that's some pretty good lore. Do you usually prefer OU tiers or lower tiers in a current gen? Current gen OU... Yeah, OU. Do you have an album of the year for 2022 so far? No, I don't. If not, what's your favorite album in general? Funhouse by the Stooges. K302, opinions on Pokemon Go? No opinion. Opinions on National Dex OU? No opinion. What is your favorite tier to just turn off your brain and ladder without a care? None. They all stress me out. Maybe Gen 5 because it's such a mess no matter what. So, in what generations do you prefer the lower tiers over OU? Gen 5. Easy. Every tier except OU is great in Gen 5. What mechanic, idea, or aspect of Pokemon that has been produced do you feel is underused or overlooked, which could or should be explored further? I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question, but I don't know. Offbeat stuff like Trick Room, maybe. Something like that. Yeah, that's the best I got for you. I'm sorry. What are your favorite tracks from the band Cocteau Twins? Cocteau Twins are amazing. 51050 Fold. That one's maybe the best one. Multifoiled is really good. What's the other one I really love? Tinderbox of a Heart. That one's insane. The whole Head Over Heels album is amazing in general. And Treasure, but yeah. Cocteau Twins pretty much never missed. Their EPs are great too. But yeah, 51050 Fold if I had to pick one. How messed up is Gen 5 OU still? Pretty messed up. Yeah, gems were banned, but it's still bad. Okay. I'm often told when getting into new metas to watch tournament battles in order to gain an understanding of how the tier works, but usually find it hard to pull information from them. What do you recommend players do in this situation? Are there any resources or methods you use to learn more about metagames you don't play? Well, if you don't play the metagame, then... Sorry, I shouldn't have taken that so aggressively. I'm just very used to people asking questions in bad faith. Like the earlier question in this very same channel thing. It's like, can you count to 10? Which is sensitive for me because, of course, I can't. But you have to play. If you play the tier yourself, then you gain a lot more context. It's a combination of watching tournament battles in the tier and reading discussion helps too because there it's explicitly laid out. Like what Pokemon do, and then you can kind of mix and match those two. And then, of course, you have to enter tournaments yourself and play against experienced opponents. And that is the best thing you can do. It's not just one thing. It's a mixture of all of those things. Always play and watch and learn. That's it. Favorite non-Pokemon video game? I don't have one. MVP Baseball 2005. That was my favorite when I was young. How much did you contribute to False Swipe Gaming's top 5 most broken Pokemon of all time video? I wrote it. What are your thoughts on this alternate list? Gen 1 Mewtwo, in order from most broken to least. Gen 1 Mewtwo, Gen 2 Snorlax, Gen 5 Arceus Normal, Shadow Rider Calyrex in Gen 8, Gen 4 Darkrai, and Mega Rayquaza in Gen 6 and 7. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good list, but I don't know how I feel about Gen 4 Darkrai being more broken than Mega Rayquaza. Like, I get where you're coming from, but I don't exactly agree. So, yeah, next up. Do you feel somewhat out of sorts with Smogon being so different from when you first joined? I've felt that way for a long time. This is not a new thing for me. Furthermore, what do you think about the new generation of players, and do they differ from yours? And the new generation of players is obviously very talented, but yeah, they differ from mine a lot. But this has been the case for a long time. I mean, new generation of players. I've seen a lot of new generations of players come around. Not just like new generation as in Pokemon generation. Just, it can happen in the middle of it. There are multiple new generations of players within one generation of Pokemon, for example. But yeah, they differ. They differ a lot in mentality. You know, some things I agree with, some things I don't. Same with older players than you. Do they approach the game in a different way? Yeah, the aforementioned question with Earthworm and Goki in particular. With like building your own teams and consistency over a longer period of time and yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, everyone looks at the game differently, obviously. I've been managing a lot of side tournaments, Ruins of Alpha, Cup of Pokemon, Advance and DPP Premier League, and upcoming Black and White Premier League to get more experience managing with the long-term goal of managing an SPL team. What happened overnight? I was wondering if you had any advice for managing or drafting good teams. God, that's a tough question. Make sure the players work well together, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, you have to have some sort of cohesive plan. I don't know. My strength is not putting a team together. My strength is working with the teams that already have been made. That I can make happen, but yeah, because good Pokemon players have a diva streak to them, and you'll often have people go, "Oh, I refuse to be on so and so's team," and you would think that for the good of the team they would not do that. But then you would also, then they're just not going to care. You have to get people who care. Okay, that's my biggest piece of advice. Get people who care. That you cannot do. There is nothing worse than begging someone to care. Get people who will be invested. Those are the people who are going to win you the tournament. Yeah. If you could bring any abilities, moves, or items introduced from a later generation to a prior one, which ones would you? Rocky Helmet is amazing and should be in every metagame. I don't know. That's all I can really give you. I really like when defense can strike back while still... and play offense while playing defense. Do you prefer metagames with team preview or without? Without, for sure. Personal preference. If RBY with team preview was a thing, do you think it would be more or less fun than normal RBY? I would like it less personally. Vice versa for newer gens. Well, newer gens have such insane levels of power creep that I don't think it would be tenable. That's generally accepted. If you could suspect or change something about a tier much earlier, what would you do? I would completely change how Generation 5 was handled while it was the current gen. I have a video planned on the complete failure that was current gen black and white tiering. Horrible, horrible, horrible. What's your top 3 melodic death metal albums? I don't really like melodic death metal. I don't think it's very good at being death metal, and I think it often winds up with some cool ideas for sure, but it often winds up being too melodic. And being melodic is not a bad thing, but I don't think that... It's really hard to pull out that juxtaposition of harsh and melodic. Not that it can't be done, but I think a lot of melodic death metal bands in particular push the melodic too much into saccharine territory. A lot of melodic black metal has similar problems, but I think the best melodic black metal bands pull it off better than the best than most of the melodic death metal bands. If anything, I think the best melodic death metal is the death metal that has a good sense of melody without explicitly making it clear that they are a quote-unquote melodic death metal band. For example, what's one of the most famous melodic death metal bands? At the Gates, right? With Slaughter of the Soul. I don't like Slaughter of the Soul at all. But I think early At the Gates on The Red in the Sky Is Ours, they had incredible use of melody on that album, but it was not what you would call melodic death metal. It was still very much death metal. So I hope that makes sense. Feel free to ask me to clarify if not. But yeah, I don't really care for the direction Carcass went in on Heartwork and later either. I think on Necroticism they had the perfect blend of, using their ear for melody while still retaining what makes death metal great in the first place, as opposed to going too far and basically you have with most melodic death metal that's like really melodic, then you just have like a crunchy guitar pop song, but it doesn't really work as well as an actual pop song because of the harsh vocals. So yeah, I don't know. It's a great question, but it's a topic I would talk for a really long time. So, but I think that made what I feel clear. How do you feel about the Explosion Nerf in Gen 5? Probably a good thing, all things considered. Can you imagine if Lando could explode with 500 base power on top of everything else? How do you feel about the Hyper Beam nerf? Also, probably a good thing. Yeah, no, probably a good thing. I'm generally anti-power creep. So, what's your least favorite Pokemon competitive-wise? Don't have one. Non-Pokemon related games you like, have been enjoying? None. Not since I was a kid and liked sports games. In advance, do you think Haryan will ever rise to the OU? I give it like a 40% chance tops, but even that feels generous, so no. What's your favorite Heracross set in advance? Choice Band Hera needs to be used more. I mean, it really makes the most of that, of Hera's properties as because you're not using it for its defensive utility. I also think Protect Toxic Heracross is really underrated and cool, but that one's really specific, whereas Choice Band, just the extra immediate power you get just makes the most out of those few turns Heracross is going to be on the field, and you're just crushing stuff with Megahorn without needing to predict. Alright, time for one of my famous bathroom breaks, and while I'm doing that, then you can think about the movie Love Exposure if you've seen it and how amazing it is, and if not, then you can start making plans to watch this 4-hour masterpiece. So yeah, I'm back in like 2 seconds. Actually, wait, can I pause? No, so yeah, someone told me I could pause on yeah, okay, sorry, I don't see with the pause option. So yeah, sorry, you're stuck with this. I'll be right back. The perils of staying as hydrated as I do, Time for some frequently asked questions. Why don't you edit out your bathroom breaks? Is one. Did I reset? I think I have to reset this because I think I accidentally left Discord open, and thus the Firefox wasn't being recorded. Oops, sorry for those watching the battle intently, but it shouldn't really matter because what I'm talking about is really important here. Anyway, frequently asked questions for the benefit of some new viewers. Hey, you know you can edit out your bathroom breaks, right? Answer, yes, I know, but I don't want to, so I don't. It's bad enough. I mean, then I would have to actually, like, what's the word? I don't even remember what it is because I don't do it unless I absolutely have to. The thing in DaVinci Resolve, you have to, like, save it in a certain format before you can upload it if you edit it, because you can't just upload the project file. So I prefer to just record all in one shot and then just upload it directly. So no, I don't want to edit it out because I don't edit my videos in general. Yeah, frequently asked question number 2. Hey, you know you can use a script, right? Yeah, but I hate that. It's like, oh, you know, so no. I mean, I get it. It's like, oh, attention spans are short. It's like, well, too bad. That sounded insensitive. I'm sorry. It's just very frustrating getting those comments sometimes. It's like, the ones where I have like a really lengthy analysis of some old battle. It's like, it's 20 turns in. You haven't started the replay yet. It's like, you can just watch the replay if you want to see what happens in the game. It's linked, so you don't have to watch the video. Too much talk. Oh, sorry about the I don't know why I'm getting mad at these old YouTube actually, not even old because they keep coming back. But because reasoning with people who argue dumb stuff in YouTube. Well, the bathroom break is actually reasonable. You know what my favorite comment of all time I've ever gotten on this channel was? It started, I forget exactly how it went, but it started out as something like, dude, listen, about the bathroom breaks. And as I was reading, I was going, oh god, another one of these yokels. Another Yahoo who can't handle the artistry of me going to the bathroom and not editing it out. And I mean, isn't it enough? It's like we're really hanging out, you know? You're hanging out with your friend and your friend has to go to the bathroom. You know, do you ask him to edit that out of your hangout session? Yeah, because that's comparable. Anyway, so this comment starts out, dude, listen, about the bathroom breaks, you really can't keep doing this. You really have to take the mic into the bathroom with you. And then I was just like, yeah, this guy gets it. Then he said something inappropriate about, you know, loving the soothing sound of... Yeah, that was lovely. Anyway, back to the questions, the ones that were asked for this. What would you change about Gen 8 to make the gen still unique but enjoyable for you? No boots. I hate boots. They're so dumb. You know, it's like the opposite of the Deer Hunter where the guy's going, you got no boots. Unfortunately, in Gen 8, you have boots. You got boots. If you're designing your own tier pet mod, which mechanics would you definitely include and why? Which would you exclude? Which generation or existing metagame? This is a big question, and I don't really have interest in this kind of stuff. I would say that I would base it on something in Gen 5. And I don't know what I would change, really. Maybe, no, I would make Gen 5, but with the toned-down base powers of Gen 6 and later. So like Fire Blast and Hydro Pump are 110 BP, Draco's 130, stuff like that. Ice Beam's 90 instead of 95. Hidden Power is a 60 instead of 70. Yeah, I think that would be very good. But yeah, that was actually pretty interesting. Should Gamefreak release Pokemon Stadium 3 with the full National Dex, Mega Evolutions, Z moves, Dynamax, and Gigantamax all in the game, a Gym Leader Castle that requires you to battle the Gym Leaders, E4 members, and champions for every region, and featuring online play with the ladder system along with completely customizable rental Pokemon which are only available in online play? Yeah, that sounds like a blast. They should go for it. What is the funniest Pokemon name? I remember when Gen 6 came out, and I just thought Talonflame was the hackiest name. It's like, what Yahoo thought of this? Talonflame, my god. Thoughts on Calm Lugia and DPP Ubers? Yeah, it's great. What's the best possible dog name out of the Pokemon names? Charizard, of course. If you could move a couple Pokemon back generations, what would they be? Yeah, I answered this earlier. Thoughts on the Calyrex suspects? I don't have any thoughts on it. I don't know or care about Gen 8 Ubers. Or Gen 8 in general. Kevin, do you have a girlfriend? Yes, Ryan Gosling. Kara asks, both of us are huge film nerds, so I want you to come up with a list of 5 films for your average movie watcher to learn more about the craft. Love the use of the word craft here in particular, because I think craft is very forgotten in the landscape of modern blockbuster cinema, which feels like, a lot of it feels like it's coming off a conveyor belt. Obviously, there are exceptions. Like Mad Max Fury Road was obviously a huge studio movie made by a complete lunatic, and it's all the better for it. But we need that level of craft as opposed to just, all right, well, let's churn another one out. Okay, so I'll preface this, because I have more than 5. I'll preface this by saying that if you like movies and you want to watch more, then you should do away with your preconceived biases of what you think you like in movies. And this is generally like aesthetic stuff. So here are the most common ones. I don't like old movies, and what an old movie is can be anything from like pre-2000 to pre-1990, but in general, it's like, I don't like old movies. It's like, okay. I don't like black and white movies, also very, very silly, but okay. And I don't like foreign movies. I don't like reading subtitles, which is like also, okay. At least with, and then there's other stuff, like I don't like long movies, which I always thought is weird because people will, will brag about binging 6 seasons of a TV show in 2 days, and it's like, oh, this movie's 2 hours long, when will it end? So I think that's a little silly, but yeah, so I would do away with biases like that and just accept movies on their own terms, and don't not watch something because at first, another one is like, oh, I don't like animated movies because some reason or another. So do away with those. But yeah, the big 3 is usually, oh, I don't like old movies, I don't like black and white movies, I don't like movies with subtitles. So clearly the first movie I'm going to recommend is Seven Samurai. Ticking all those boxes. But yeah, obviously it takes some time to get accustomed to different types of movies. What are you going to do? Just stay in your comfort zone forever? Never be challenged? Then you discover so much and you close yourself off. Anyway, so to answer your actual question, if you're just like a beginner, I don't even want to say beginner, but if you like movies and you want to see more, you're making your way through that IMDb top 250 or whatever it is, and you've seen all that Chris Nolan has to offer, and The Shawshank Redemption, and whatever else is famously on that list, and you want to start, trying out some other stuff. Maybe you have that gnawing feeling that there might be more to movies than the endless assembly line of Marvel products. Maybe you think to yourself, oh yeah, these are pretty fun, but I can't help but feeling like there might be something missing. Like they might be holding back a little bit. Like there could be so much more. Maybe I should explore a little bit. Okay, I'm trying to say 16 things at once again. Use a script. No. Speaking of scripts, movies. So it can be intimidating to try and get into movies because there are so many places to start. So my biggest advice is just to go by director. Well, go by director, and like even if you like have a director that you like Nolan or Tarantino, who are the most popular ones, then what you should do is look into the old movies they like, because you think, oh, I don't like old movies or foreign movies or black and white movies. Those guys love those movies, and for good reason, because they're fantastic. So this idea, oh, this movie's outdated. Why would we watch this old movie now when we have new movies? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Okay, to answer the question, some good movies you can get into to learn more about the craft and, maybe change your perspective. For, like, seasoned film veterans, this is not going to blow your mind, but this is for someone who wants to expand their, Okay, Mulholland Drive, I'll just give it short. Mulholland Drive to you talk about plot twists a lot, and it's like, oh, this movie's so cool with the plot twist. Mulholland Drive isn't so much a plot twist as much as a different kind of narrative that doesn't spoon feed itself to you and really makes you engage with it. And I think that's a mark of one of the marks of a great movie, that it makes you engage with it rather than just handing you everything. Not that a movie needs to have that in order to be a great movie, but you get my point. Do the Right Thing, just to show how alive a movie can be. Like, you think movies like, oh, this is so high energy and so crazy. Well, Do the Right Thing's not really a crazy movie, but it's so vibrant and alive. Like nothing else. It is the most vibrantly alive. I keep coming back to those two words because you almost can't describe it better than that. Just in terms of how it's done stylistically, and that's another thing. Like, these movies, I would hope open your eyes to maybe not the formal ways a movie can be made, but how a style a movie has is not a shallow aesthetic thing, but a way of telling the story. Like, it's the hottest day of the year and Do the Right Thing. They don't just say it. You see it. You feel it more than anything else. One of the many reasons that film is incredible. Yeah, because I remember, like, when Spider-Man No Way Home came out and everyone was going crazy for it, and then there was a small subsection of people going, yeah, I don't really like this movie for insert valid reason here. And then there were fans going, oh, how can you care about lighting and the quality of the CGI and the camera angles and all this stuff? Why can't you just enjoy it? Well, obviously you can enjoy it, but having standards, and the criticism of movies like that is more that it becomes a very rote form of storytelling if it's just constant exposition, i.e. people dialoguing the plot at each other, and just holding your hand and making sure there's no. It's very easy to watch in that sense. I don't want to get too pseudo-philosophical in this, but it is a limitation, because. So yeah, the style a movie adopts is not just like, oh, that's cool because it's cool. It's cool because it helps. It helps you emotionally engage with the story more, and when a film is made with a kind of lazy cynicism, then the emotions it's asking you to understand and engage with and don't feel as genuine. And that's the argument that was being made. The lighting being dull in a lot of Marvel stuff, let's say, is not just, oh, that's a technical limitation, that's just an aesthetic, shallow thing. No, it's dull because I made the point like 16 times already, and I've only said 2 movies so far. Okay, I'll also mention Clerks, because it was inspired by Do the Right Thing, actually. But also to demonstrate that a movie does not need to be made by a giant studio for a gajillion dollars to be good. The Thing, to show that, a lot of people who like modern horror movies, that whole A24 elevated horror thing. Nothing wrong with that, of course. I love those movies too. But I sometimes have mixed feelings about the elevated horror tag, because it kind of implies that it's above quote unquote regular horror movies. And I think The Thing is the best horror movie ever made, elevated or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I recommend The Thing just to show. It's not even just that it's a great horror movie, even though it is, but it's just a masterclass of filmmaking in general. John Carpenter is incredible. Yeah, next on the list is sorry, Perfect Blue. This is an anime movie from Japan, and it's incredible. This is just to show that, people go, oh, anime stereotypes, harem, dumb overreaction, nani. Oh, I'm so clever, I understand these things. And I'm trying not to argue with the imaginary people right now, even though the points are very real, but I argue with myself a lot. Point being, Perfect Blue is one of the greatest movies ever made, animated or not animated. I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video, Perfect Blue, B-L-O-O, but yeah, the original B-L-U-E. So yeah, that's just one of the greatest ever. Satoshi Kon was incredible. Okay, and then I will name Beau Travail, and I apologize to any French speakers for my pronunciation, but I can't do it the French way. But Beau Travail by Claire Denis is another one of the greatest movies ever, and I picked this one not just because it's one of my favorites, but because it tells its story really in an unconventional way, in that it's not just about, dialogue explaining feelings, and it's a lot of Claire Denis movies, and most of her movies in fact, it's about the unsaid being felt, and Beau Travail is an incredible example of that, and that's something you're not going to get in a lot of common movies. It's also a great example. It's also a great introductory slow movie because it's only 90 minutes long. So it's slow, but it's not like Tarkovsky where it's slow and it's also, several hours. I love that, obviously, but yeah. Beau Travail has the greatest ending in film history. Yeah, so those are my... Is that 5? No, that's 6. And, yeah, so I'll throw in a couple more. I know that there's a lot of people who have seen Joker nowadays, and they talk about how good it is, and they haven't seen Taxi Driver. And if you've seen Joker, but you haven't seen Taxi Driver, then let me tell you, if you like Joker, you'll really like Taxi Driver, because Joker stole almost literally everything from a far, far, far better movie. Also The King of Comedy, also a great movie, but Taxi Driver, if you haven't seen it, is pretty required. And while I'm here, then I'll throw in my favorite Czech movie, The Cremator, which is very ahead of its time. Has some similarities with this reality slashing of Perfect Blue, in fact. And to come out in the late 60s like it did, incredible stuff. Haunting, mesmerizing, beautiful. And for anyone who wants to, potentially alienate themselves and going, oh, I knew these art movies were stupid and incomprehensible and long and dumb and... Well, actually, not all of these are long. But yeah, for anyone who wants to challenge themselves a little, then I also recommend Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky, L'Avventura by Michelangelo Antonioni, The Adventure. It's from 1960, if my awful Italian pronunciation was incomprehensible to you. But yeah, Stalker, L'Avventura, Persona by Ingmar Bergman. That one's only 85 minutes long, I think. So that one's I think the shortest on this list. And Last Year at Marienbad by Alain Resnais. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry for my French. But yeah, those are a little more... accessible, not accessible. People argue about this stuff all the time. But yeah, so those are that. Okay, I love that question. Thank you for giving me the excuse. Tick, Tick, Boom. Have you watched it? If so, how good do you think it was? I have not watched it, and I'm not really interested. I don't really care for Lin-Manuel Miranda. Indeed. Congrats on 20K. Thank you. Have you ever played any Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl OU or any tier, or looked into any? No, I haven't. What are your thoughts? And I don't have any interest. What are your thoughts on BDSP in general? I like the game. It was fun. I don't know. It kind of wore thin for me after a while. I wish they had done more with it. yeah, like the lack of a distortion world and stuff. It felt very lazy, and I mean, talk about cynical, lazy conveyor belt products. I mean, yeah. So I enjoyed it, but it was also kind of a letdown. Have you heard of the Gen 9 leaks? What are your thoughts on the potential new gimmick? I have no idea. I don't know. I'll find out later. Would you take Sun and Moon more seriously if Cortana was banned? Maybe. I wouldn't. I don't think I'd change much. I mean, I think it's a good tier anyway, but yeah, I think it'd probably be better, but also I don't really care that much. Is there anything you wish you were told when starting out? Oh, I don't know. Because the culture has changed so much now. I guess if I was starting now, then I don't know, keep your mouth shut, probably. Because if you have if you're a good player, but you have a reputation that kind of precedes your battling ability, then you're going to have a much harder time than you need to. So, best to, talk with your in-group, but don't, yeah. Because that can be an unnecessary roadblock. What do you think of draft leagues? Would you join one if presented with the opportunity? It's a lot of time and effort investment, and I don't know if the monetary reward is really proportionate to that for me. I mean, they're cool and all, but I don't know. Maybe if depending on the tier. Okay. Dearest Blaze Kicking Chicken, I've been a fan of yours since 2022 and absolutely love your in-depth and honest-to-God talks about Smogan's tiering system and metagames they house. Thank you. Now that I have this opportunity to finally ask you something face-to-face, I must ask, have you ever considered Mormonism? Well, I learned recently that Gosling's parents were Mormons, apparently. Yeah, just celebrity. I swear I'm usually not one for celebrity gossip, I swear, but he's just the coolest. So it was good enough for them, but yeah, God, I feel like an idiot just talking about that. Whatever. No, I have not. I don't believe because I had a friend who who knew someone who was a Mormon, and no, I had a friend who went on a friend of a friend. Point being, I knew someone who went on exchange to the U.S. and their host family was Mormon, and this person was a girl of about, I don't know, like 18, 19 maybe, and the host family was like, don't talk to any boys, it's very sinful, and so I don't know that I appreciate for what I understand of their beliefs anyway, their restrictions of women, especially in the 21st century. I mean, come on. What is that? So, I have not considered it, and I will not be considering it. Do you think Smogon might have played a role in why Nintendo completely ignores signals for tournaments? Probably not. No, I don't think so, because they were already shifting to to doubles, even before Smogon was like a really big thing, so... How would Gengar change in advance of you if it had special Shadow Ball? That would be pretty nuts. To have an actual stab move, that'd be crazy. It hits Celebi so hard. Yeah, a Claydol too. Oh yeah, no, that would be wild. Be thankful that's not the case. Favorite battle that you played? Just picking one, I don't know. Like, just battle for like the sheer quality of it, or how much I enjoyed it. I don't know. That's really hard to pick. I would say it would probably be like a Wi-Fi battle that I had with one of my buddies, like Roscoe or Cracker of Cheese or Joey, like way back in the day. I had this insane one with Cheese in I think like really early 2011. It was so good, and then Wi-Fi DC'd, and we were both furious because it was still anyone's game. It was going to be one of those really long games where it's a back and forth right until the very end. It was, I don't know. Yeah, I really loved that one. I didn't even get to finish. I don't know. Yeah, but there's a lot. I've been playing for a long time, so. You can pick one of the games showcased in this. I'm sure it'd be one of them. Maybe my SPL 9 game against McMegan. That one I really, really loved. But there were so many, you know. Like the game I had against Earthworm in SPL 8. That was a big thing for me because Earthworm was my idol for so long. Or one of the games I had in Smogon 14. Several of the games I had in Smogon 14 or 16. Or at my SPL 3 game against McMegan. Back when I was 15. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many. It could have been a ladder game against Ojama in 2011 when we were trading games all the time. Beating Blue Blur on the ladder when he was number 1 for forever. Yeah, that was it. I don't know. There's too many to pick from. I'd be here all night. Favorite book of all time? Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. Words fail me. It's the way it's written is just extraordinary. Something by J.G. Ballard might also be up there, but yeah, there's a couple things it could be, honestly, but I remember I had this Langston Hughes book a long time ago that I really liked, but I can't remember because it was when I was like 13, 14 and still actually reading. Oh, that's furious. And I like, I read this book from Japan around the same time. Not a manga, it was, I wish I still knew where it was. So if it's embarrassing that 13 or 14-year-old me could talk about this much more eloquently and decisively than 26-year-old me. But yeah, I really love Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. That one's really special. Yeah. Do you prefer long books or multiple shorter books which make up a series? One long book. Blonde is a great example because it's like 700, 800 pages long and really is better off for it. Yeah. God, this really has me thinking now. But yeah, generally long. Like Brothers Kazamarov I read a couple of years ago, and that one is a real lengthy trek to get through. And but I mean, different writers, different styles. You know, like if it was James Baldwin or something, then, or like J.G. Ballard doesn't have J.G. Ballard doesn't have stuff that's really long, but it doesn't. You don't feel like you've read a short story exactly either. Like I recently read the book that the 1961 film The Innocents is based on, The Turn of the Screw, and that one's really short. And it's still great, but you feel that it's short. Whereas Ballard's short stuff, I find, is, yeah. I don't have much knowledge about literature, though, unfortunately. I'm very limited in that, but I'd like to learn more. It's just, there's so much to read and so much to watch. Wonderful problem to have. Hi BKC, hope you're doing well. Found your channel back when Fall Swept Gaming promoted your advanced Pokemon guide back in 2020. Thank you. And I love the depth and passion of your narration. Thank you very much. 2 questions. First, has Smogon and/or any of the simulators ever been targeted by Gamefreak / Nintendo? Not that I am aware of. Are there any safeguards in place to prevent that from happening? I don't think so, but I think there they know that like people use it for VGC and they don't really care. If that were to happen, what would the future of competitive singles be like? I don't know, but there would be a huge fuss about it, and I think maybe they would look. Maybe they're afraid of looking too much like heartless corporate villains if they do that. because, yeah, I don't know. Because I don't think Showdown takes away from people buying the actual games. Because if you're sick of the actual games, then you're not going to play them anyway. That's not the greatest equivalence ever, but I don't know what would happen. Which would you marry and kill of the first 3 generations of fire-type starters? Come on. I like the first question. I didn't like the second one. Afuiz, will you make a video about trends, quote-unquote, in Pokemon, how you hate them? Yeah, that's a really good subject for a video. I do not care for how people... A lot of people will say things like, XYZ top-tier threat is really good in XYZ metagame right now. Like, wow, Metagross is really good in Advance right now. It's like, as opposed to Metagross just being a fundamentally good Pokemon in Advance right now. Oh, what's going on right now that makes Metagross so good? Oh, there's a lot of DD Tyranitar that don't... It's like, oh, as opposed to before where it just didn't exist. It might just be like a pedantic language thing, but at the same time... Oh, it was lagging again because I opened the Discord window. Good lord. But yeah, I don't care for that line of thinking because then it ceases to be a pedantic language quandary when it's less of just a way of expressing things and more when it becomes a line of thinking like I can ignore XYZ thing because it's not being used super commonly right now, which is just... What's a Pokemon you struggle to make use of yourself but seem to put in work against you in battles? Oh, I don't know. Mew, maybe? Mew's kind of not very intuitive for me, but I don't really have Pokemon like that, I don't think. Yeah. Does Icy Wind or Macho Brace ever have a positive use in singles? Icy Wind has been used in a ton of metagames over the years. And even Macho Brace is good because it can be tricked. Bronzong in Gen 4 OU, most notably. Do you think any meaningful conclusions can be drawn by running a regression analysis or fitting a linear model on Pokemon data? Is it worth it, and would it help players craft better and more optimized teams? An extension of this can be analyzing players themselves in team tournaments, something on the lines of sports analytics. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what you would do statistically that top players wouldn't already see. So I guess you would be helping less experienced players by kind of handing it to them. I don't know. Yeah, it's a really extensive topic that I don't know how these statistical models work, so I don't feel very qualified to comment on them extensively. What do you think Gamefreak can learn from past generations of competitive singles to improve the state of Smogon signals? But Game Freak has nothing to do with Smogon signals. But if they kept it in mind, then yeah, I get. I don't know. Maybe because a lot of their stuff is just thrown together without really considering the balance of its interactions. So I don't know. Removing Pursuit and Hidden Power, I thought was really dumb. Yeah. Thoughts on Arctic Monkeys? I don't like the Arctic Monkeys. They're not really for me. Well, I wouldn't speak negatively on them, but they're not my style. Same question for My Chemical Romance, The Offspring, and Green Day. Those aren't really my style. I did like that Misfits cover Green Day did a couple of years ago. I think it was Hybrid Moments. I thought they did a good job of that. And American Idiot is obviously a great song. Holiday's a great song, too. Offspring, I like the early Offspring stuff, like when they were like a really like fairly dark punk band before they kind of became this like very mainstream friendly. There's nothing wrong with being mainstream friendly, obviously, but I did prefer their earlier stuff to, the hits like Why Don't You Get a Job and The Kids Aren't Alright or whatever. But yeah, they're fun. I never was really into My Chemical Romance, but I used to play this baseball game called it was MLB 07 the show, I think. And they had a song on there called This Is How I Disappear, and I really thought that one was cool. But their other tracks never really did anything for me. Favorite garage rock band? The Stooges count, right? I mean, come on, they're great. Modern Lovers too. I love the Modern Lovers. They're really great. So one of those two. Yeah, more of a Modern Lovers guy than a Velvet Underground guy, if you can believe that. So, next, thoughts on the PU tiers from Gens 1 to 5. I don't know anything about them. And no, I don't think they should be added to Fall Swipe Gaming because they were not current gen PU tiers. So, I mean, I don't know where we draw the line officially, because like stuff like GSC NU obviously wasn't current gen, but most of the stuff that's in GSC NU is like stuff that would literally have nothing to talk about otherwise. And PU, I think for the early gens is like dumpster diving too far. I prefer starting, like I don't go back and like, because I start with RU in Gen 5. And start with PU in Gen 6. That's just, that feels the most right to me. I mean, the videos are already really long as is, so. Yeah, also, I think those PU tiers go through so, I don't know, they always feel, their player bases are so small that it feels difficult to, I don't know, GSC NU at least. I don't know, it's not a hard line or anything. Favorite anime? I don't watch anime shows most of the time because that's just because I don't like to watch shows in general as much. I mean, I've seen shows before, but over time I gravitated more towards movies. Because shows have a lot of flaws. And the TV versus shows debate is one I have had many times and with great passionate anger. But yeah, I've seen a couple, and my favorite was Neon Genesis Evangelion. I know it's probably Evangelion, but it sounds wrong. Like, it's an angel. Anyway, I wasn't going to watch it, but I heard that End of Evangelion was the greatest thing ever, so I was like, oh, it's one season, why not? And then I really liked the show, too. But yeah, generally I don't seek out anime shows. Anime movies I love. I absolutely adore them. Like, in addition to Perfect Blue, some of my favorites are Angel's Egg and Akira. And then there are a bunch others as well. But, yeah, I love anime movies. But I'm just not into shows as much. So, thoughts on Breaking Bad? Breaking Bad is great. Vince Gilligan is very, very good at what he does. And I appreciate that it was a show that actually used the possibilities and language of cinema, so to speak, as opposed to a lot of shows, even like the prestige drama shows. I hate that term, by the way, the prestige thing. But as opposed to those which just kind of point the camera at people and let them dialogue the plot at each other, that drives me crazy. Whereas Breaking Bad, I thought, was really good about different forms of narrative. I'm not saying it was like experimental or anything. I mean, the Fly episode, you could definitely make a case for. But it definitely used more filmic language than most of the other prestige dramas. God, I hate that term. Have you earned any money from playing Pokemon competitively, not including YouTube? I won a couple like small tournaments and won like $10 to $30. So I think I bought my Funhouse vinyl off Amazon after I won some DPP tournament and got like a $50 Amazon gift card. That was pretty cool. Why is Doug Trio not banned in Gen 3 even though Arena Trap is banned every other generation? A lot of specifics. That deserves its own video, but mostly because it's not as... the stuff it's enabling isn't as devastating with its support. That's the basic gist. If you could make any dish, what is it? I don't know. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta make or order dinner. Selling Pokemon teams as NFTs, don't think that would really work because it only works once. Yeah. When it comes to upsets in the viability lists, what causes them on to rapidly shift in quality in the eyes of good players? I would just say like the general approach of competitive Pokemon as a whole, and then the Pokemon are seen in new lights via that. Any personal predictions you have? No predictions at all. I'm not following. Don't care. Personal favorite game and why? Don't have one. If it's Pokemon, then Pokemon Coliseum. What's your favorite OU metagame as they are right now? Gen 4 OU. Always. I also like Gen 6 a lot. I think Advance has been really skewered, I guess. Even something like GSC, but GSC is still great. But yeah, Gen 3 is not what it used to be to me. If Mr. Gosling shows up at your door asking to play Pokemon, which gen and which team do you have him use? I have him use one of my beloved Gen 4 stall teams because his willingness to venture into sparse dialogue, quasi-slow cinema at the peak of his international stardom is one of the reasons why I respect him so much. So I think he would appreciate the slow pace of those teams. Yeah, that's why. Where should the line be drawn between old gens and the newer, still past gens? I don't. With Gen 9 coming soon, it's abundantly clear there needs to be more separation, but where should that be? I have no idea, honestly. Team preview, not team preview. Models versus sprites. That one seems more clear, honestly. You know, pre and post defog. I don't know. Something like that, I guess. Models versus sprites, which happens to be pre and post defog too. What's your opinion regarding the usage stats controversy? Apparently, stuff can't rise in tiers the last few tier shifts of Sword and Shield. I have no opinion. Do not care. I didn't even know there was a controversy. What are some of your favorite Pokemon strategies that are typically slept on, underrated, just fun? Gen 3, 4 OU, and 4 5 Ubers. I don't know. I don't really have any right now. I will say that Gen 4 OU, more stuff needs to be done with Metagross, particularly its capacity to trick. But in general, Metagross is just crazy, weirdly underrated. It can do so many things. I think it needs to be explored more, not just with trick, and a lot of other guises as well. So that's most of what comes to mind. Okay, will the greatest battles come back at some point? Yeah, probably. It would be a lot easier if that log to replay converter existed, because there's so much I want to do, but just making the thing is such a pain. What are your movie hot takes? My biggest one is probably that I think Blade Runner 2049 is better than the original. Gotten into some big fights over that one. But yeah, I do think that. Any critically acclaimed movies that you don't get the hype for? Yeah, I've never really been a fan of... I mean, they're great movies and I respect them a lot, but I don't really care for No Country for Old Men or Silence of the Lambs. I like the Coen brothers a lot. And I love Jonathan Demme's Stop Making Sense. That's a fantastic film. Beyond just it being some of the... Actually, I don't even think it's the best Talking Heads live performance, because it has doesn't have as much of their early stuff as there should be. But point being, it is a great film in its own right, in addition to being a great concert. So I like what Jonathan Demme did there, but Silence of the Lambs just always rang a little hollow to me. I think the whole, charming psychopath thing just doesn't work as well, and that's a quality it shares with No Country. Yeah, I'll go with those two. Hardest tier ever to get into? I don't know. The least accessible one, the one that the least people play. Have your opinions changed on your personal viability ranks on DPP Ubers? I don't know. Maybe. Probably. How good is your self-cooking? Non-existent. Which past gen has the most activated and dedicated community? Gens 3 through 5, I think. Yeah, definitely Gens 3 through 5. Should RBY be played with tradebacks? Sure, why not? Yeah, probably it should be. Is it possible for a metagame to be too decentralized? How centralized should metagames aim to be? You can't draw a hard line on this. I think it when it feels right and wrong. I think Sun and Moon was definitely pushing it in terms of being too decentralized, though. Whereas Aura's had what I would call a good balance of being not too decentralized. Is there a difference between offensive and defensive centralization in this aspect? I don't know. That's a good question. I'd have to think about that one. And I'm getting tired at this point. So, yeah, I don't know. So what are some of your favorite cores to build around in tiers you want to talk about? I don't know. I don't really builds anymore because I don't really like playing anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any. I feel like the stuff that's good on both offense and defense. So Rotom and Heatran in Gen 5 and 6, for example, because they come in on each other's weaknesses and they set each other up really nicely for constant momentum, and they're good defensively while still being threatening offensively. So I'll go with that one. Which game do you prefer, an utterly passive and boring PP stall marathon or a crit-filled and volatile RNG fiesta? You say PP stall marathon is utterly passive and boring. I think it's a great test of long-term thinking and endurance, so I'm going to go with that one. Favorite Pokeball, Duskball. Favorite GSC BL Pokemon to use in OU, Tentacruel. I think it does some cool things. How much control do you have over False Swipe gaming videos? I read the script. That's it. Nothing else. I remember you mentioning you enjoy Breaking Bad once. Who's your favorite character? Mike. Mike or Saul? Yeah, or Gus. I mean, there's so many. That's the thing. I even like Skylar. Just because, like, the second time I watched that show, I was like, oh my god, she's completely right about everything, right? Like, Walt is being a completely unreasonable, lunatic here, and she put up with him being the way he was with, Zen-like patience, and then when she actually did get mad, yeah, so I have great sympathy for Skylar's predicament. Yeah. Have I gotten around to watching Better Call Saul? No. Like I said, I'm not really into watching shows. Yeah, it's too long. And I don't like them as much as movies. Obviously, some can still be great, of course, blah, blah, blah. But on average, I think movies are better. Is Pokemon the only game you play? Well, I don't really even play Pokemon much anymore. But yes, it was. Here's a dumb question about if I would hit a Meowth over the head to save my wallet, which I'm not going to be answering because, come on. Who makes your thumbnails? They're amazing. Thank you. I'm glad you think so because I'm an amateur. I use PowerPoint to make them. I do them myself. And just the other day, I got a notice, like, PowerPoint will be discontinued on August 3rd or something, so I have to look into something else. What a pain. But yeah, I make them myself. Thoughts on Super Irachi in every generation ever? It's obviously great in Gen 3 and 4. It's, like, perpetually underrated in Gen 3 and 4, which I like. Yeah. The others, Are there certain mechanics that are fundamentally anti-competitive that the game would be better without? Yeah, freeze. Freeze is definitely dumb. I don't even like crits, honestly. People are like, they balance out boosters. It's like, okay, well, if your go-to option... I feel like over the years, people's go-to options for beating stuff has been to start rolling the dice, as opposed to dealing with them just by, like, having answers to them. And I don't like that. That's been a big perspective shift in the player base. And so stuff like that, I don't know. I think there are too many things to fish for in Pokemon, so cutting down on that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do people that make risky and bad plays on ladder annoy you? 1,600. Which languages do you speak and how did you learn them? Czech and English, and I knew them from birth. Okay, thank you for watching, everyone. I will finish the end of this one because, yeah. Okay, yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I will, we didn't get to get this one. Well, I have something else to play next time I have a long podcast. Thanks for watching. I hope this was enjoyable for me to just listen to me ramble for an hour and a half. Go check out those movies I mentioned. And thank you again for the 20,000 subs. Perfect Blue is coming soon. And I will see you in that.